3 weeks after getting replaced by a clueless intern, I watched from the sidelines as Optiven's biggest clients threatened to walk. When the founder called me for help, I had a choice to make. My name is Leo Maddox. I'm 31, a product manager from Austin, Texas. I joined Optiven in its scrappiest days, back when our so-called office was just a sublet in a rundown co-working space with exposed pipes and stale coffee. Our B2B SaaS platform was nothing but a whiteboard sketch and some late-night dreams. But I was hooked. On the problem, on the people, and on the idea of building something lasting. I'm an engineer by training, a product manager by passion, and a systems thinker by necessity. For nearly 6 years, I built everything at Optiven around customer reality, not theory. I ran interviews with angry logistics directors at 7 a.m., sketched user flows until my hand cramped, and worked weekends making sure each release actually solved a real pain for someone. I never saw myself as a visionary. I was the glue between engineering, design, and client success, the guy who kept the roadmap honest. This last year, we'd hit our stride. Our product was actually working. Customers renewed, referrals poured in, the team was motivated. I just finished a new annual roadmap, detailed, realistic, and aligned with our technical limits and customer needs. The CTO trusted me. Founders trusted me. Even our biggest clients called me directly when they needed something fast-tracked. Then Sarah Lowry showed up, the new chief product officer, arriving with the kind of hype reserved for rescue celebrities. She'd run her own boutique agency, and yes, her consulting saved Optiven during our pre-Series A panic. The founders idolized her. So when she came in, her word was law. On her first day, Sarah gathered everyone for an all-hands and made it clear, we're moving too slow. Roadmaps are ballast, not compass. We'll win by outpacing the market, not outplanning it. She dropped buzzwords like dynamite, velocity, agile mindset, fail fast. Then she brought in 2 ex-colleagues from her agency and a 24-year-old intern named Tyler, who she insisted had the most disruptive mind in SaaS. I tried to be open. I sent Sarah the full roadmap, all my research, the crazy folder of user analytics I'd built up for years. She barely glanced at it. The new product process, weekly war rooms instead of proper planning. Every critique of her direction was brushed off with, legacy thinking won't get us there. Within 2 weeks, I was called into a tense, closed-door meeting. Sarah sat across from me, arms folded, Tyler next to her taking notes like a courtroom stenographer. Leo, we need you to step back from the main project, she said, her voice all business. You're too close to the old way of thinking. Tyler will be acting product manager on the next release. She smiled, but it was the kind of smile you give when you're already moving on. I kept my cool. No fight, no scene. I simply nodded, packed my stuff, and walked out of the main Slack channels. The team was silent that afternoon, nobody quite sure what to say. Only the CTO, Samir, dared to message, Leo, I didn't know this was coming. I'll call you tonight. The next week was like watching a slow-motion train wreck. Tyler, eager, well-meaning, and wildly unprepared, took over. The first major casualty, our most complicated integration, a custom CRM workflow for our biggest client, Dunlap Freight. I'd built it myself a year and a half ago. It wasn't in the docs. It lived in my head, in 1,000 details and edge cases. On Monday, the client emailed, furious. The new release broke our CRM sync. We're dead in the water. Support escalated it. Engineering tried to troubleshoot, but no one knew how the thing actually worked. 2 days later, the integration was still down. The client started CCing the founders. Meanwhile, another client, a strategic partner piloting our new analytics module, quietly dropped out. Their CTO's email was blunt. If Leo isn't involved anymore, we're out too. Too much risk. Inside the company, things went from tense to openly hostile. Our lead designer, who'd just accepted an offer, emailed HR to decline. The way you treated Leo is a red flag. I'm out. Slack became a war zone. Devs refused to make changes without proper specs. Meetings fell apart. Tyler, lost, started forwarding Sarah's Slack messages to people in hopes someone would step up and save the release. I watched all this unfold from the outside, my inbox filled with messages. Can you at least tell us how you wired up the CRM integration? Do you have the old user stories? What the hell happened? I wanted to help, but officially I was out, and nobody from the new leadership had asked me back. On Friday, the product demo for investors imploded live. The custom integration failed, half the new features crashed, and the team was left scrambling on Zoom. I heard about it from Samir, who texted, "It's chaos here." After the demo, Sarah and the founders had a shouting match. She blamed legacy processes. Founders are freaking out. An hour later, my phone rang. It was Max, one of the co-founders, voice tight with desperation. "Leo, if you can just come in, help us figure this out. We're in trouble." I hesitated for a moment. Pride and hurt told me to say no, but another part of me, the part that cared about the product and the people, said yes. I'll be there in the morning. When I walked into the Optiven office on Saturday, the place was dead quiet. Max met me at the door, shook my hand, and just said, "Thank you." Samir looked exhausted but hopeful. Tyler was nowhere to be seen. I sat down with engineering, support, and design, and for the first time in weeks, people actually looked relieved. "Can you help us untangle this?" Maya, our lead designer, asked. "Start with the CRM. If we can fix that, we might save Dunlap." I pulled up my old notes, walked them through the custom setup, and spent the next 12 hours rewriting docs, restoring the backup integration, and coaching Tyler through his remaining tasks. I paused only for coffee and takeout. By midnight, the client sync was live. By morning, support had confirmed. It was working. Sarah sent a terse message to the founders Sunday afternoon. "Given recent developments, I'm stepping down effective immediately." Tyler's internship ended quietly. Nobody said much. Monday, the founders called an emergency all hands. Max spoke first. Mistakes were made. We forgot what got us here. Focus, respect for process, and listening to the people who know our product best. Then he turned to me. "Leo's coming back, this time as director of product. He's got full mandate to rebuild our roadmap, our culture, and our team." The applause was long and honest. Maya hugged me. Samir just nodded, the relief obvious on his face. That week I set new priorities, rewrote the docs, and stopped the next major release until every key integration was reviewed by someone who actually understood the client needs. By Friday, the mood had shifted, back to the startup we all remembered. At the next product demo, people clapped when the features worked. Our back-end developer leaned over to Maya and whispered, "Now it feels like there's a point again." Sometimes you have to lose everything you built to remember why it matters, not just to the company, but to yourself. Now, as director of product, I've got one rule. No outsider tells us what real progress is. Only the team that built it knows what actually works. That first week back, it felt like walking through the wreckage of something I'd helped build. Maya and I met with every designer, trying to sort out what had actually shipped, what was half-finished, and what had been quietly abandoned during Sarah's reign. Most of the team was running on fumes, exhausted, suspicious, but cautiously hopeful. I kept my calendar open for anyone who wanted to talk. Some needed to vent about the chaos. Others just wanted to know quietly, "Is it safe to care about this place again?" I promised them the same thing I promised myself. No more leadership experiments at their expense. Real change would start from the ground up. The first big fix was rebuilding trust with the engineers. Tyler, despite his best intentions, had left the codebase in a state of near panic. There were half-merged branches, missing documentation, and a backlog full of vague tickets marked urgent. I called an emergency retro and told everyone, "We stopped shipping for a week. Nothing goes live until it's reviewed by someone who actually built the foundation. It was risky, but nobody pushed back. They were grateful for the pause. Next, I started repairing client relationships. I drafted honest, direct emails to Dunlap Freight and the pilot customer we'd lost, explaining the leadership change and my own return. No spin, just a commitment to restore what was lost. Dunlap's VP replied within an hour. "Glad you're back. Let's talk roadmap." The other client didn't return immediately, but at least the door wasn't slammed shut. The founders, for their part, gave me real authority this time. No more advisory role or second-guessing from the sidelines. I joined every leadership call, reviewed budgets, and got direct input into hiring. At first it felt strange, almost too much after months of being sidelined. But the team rallied around it. Samir, our CTO, was especially relieved. "You're the only one who ever saw all the moving parts." Rebuilding momentum meant more than restoring code and trust. It meant clarifying why we existed at all. So I started every stand-up with the same reminder. What problem are we here to solve? Who are we actually building for? People's answers grew more confident each day. Gradually, the defensive posture faded. Folks started making jokes again in Slack. Ideas started flowing. You could feel the shift. Meanwhile, the fallout from Sarah's exit continued to ripple. A few board members wanted an external review of our product org. Others just wanted proof that the company could stabilize. The founders shielded the team from most of this, but I felt the pressure. Every demo, every status update felt like a referendum on whether my return had been the right move. I made one thing clear in every leadership meeting. If we had to choose between chasing the next shiny feature and fixing what our core customers actually needed, we'd always choose the latter. Some execs grumbled, but when Dunlap signed a 2-year renewal and the pilot client finally called to schedule a new demo, even the skeptics went quiet. In the second month, I launched a series of product owner clinics, small, informal sessions where anyone from engineering, design, or customer success could walk in, pitch an improvement, or share a problem. The only rule: solutions had to be real, not theoretical. By the end of each session, I'd see lines of sticky notes stretching across the glass walls. For the first time since my return, people stayed late because they wanted to, not because they had to. HR came to me with a list of applicants for the open lead designer role. I asked Maya, who'd turned down a management title before, to reconsider. She hesitated at first. The scars from Sarah's tenure were still fresh, but after a few weeks of seeing the team heal, she said yes. Her first day as lead, she left a note on my desk. "If we mess this up again, I'll walk. But for now, I'm all in." Tyler never came back, and nobody really asked where he'd gone. I did reach out quietly, just to thank him for trying. He replied with a short, honest message. "I was in way over my head. Glad you're back." It was closure, if nothing else. The true turning point came at the next quarterly demo. Instead of anxious silence, the team buzzed with energy. I opened the meeting with a slide that read, "No more silver bullets, just steady progress." Max, the founder, spoke last. "We lost sight of what mattered. Now we're building it back, not for investors, not for headlines, but for the customers who got us here." The applause was real this time. 6 months in, our NPS was back where it had been pre-crisis. Customer retention climbed, support tickets dropped. I noticed a subtle shift in the team's Slack: more thank yous, more shared wins, more memes and inside jokes. The scars were still there, but so was the sense of purpose. I looked around one Friday as the team trickled out for happy hour, thinking about how close we'd come to losing everything. If Sarah's chapter taught us anything, it was this: a great product isn't built by top-down brilliance or by burning out the old guard. It's built by a team that knows its own value, and a leader who remembers he's not building alone. And for the first time in a long time, I actually looked forward to coming in on Monday. Spring crept over Austin, and with it came the first sense of genuine stability since my return. One morning, the engineering team set up a whiteboard in the break room and started tracking small wins. bugs fixed, integrations restored, positive feedback from clients. At first, it looked like a joke, a way to cope. But by the end of the week, the board was packed with colorful scribbles. It became a ritual. Every Friday, people crowded around, laughing, swapping stories about the week's headaches and hard-fought victories. It was the kind of ritual we hadn't had in months. Maya brought homemade muffins and left them beside the board, and Tyler, our back-end developer, started a running tally of crises averted. Someone drew a little trophy for best PI uptime. It was silly, but it mattered. The whiteboard became a living record of a team putting itself back together. One bug, one feature, one laugh at a time. I'd walk in some mornings to find post-its stuck all over my monitor. Thank you for the late-night Slack help, or couldn't have fixed the webhook bug without your docs, Leo. At first, those notes caught me off guard. I wasn't used to gratitude. I'd spent months bracing for the next fire, the next complaint. Now the tone was different. People were still tired, but the exhaustion had an edge of pride. The rhythm of the office changed. Daily stand-ups were sharper, less tense. The design team started bringing clients into Figma review calls again, rebuilding trust that had seemed lost forever. Maya pulled me aside one afternoon, eyes bright behind her glasses. The new clients actually seem excited to use the platform, she whispered, as if afraid to jinx it. It's not just talk anymore. It's real. Even the founders seemed changed. Max and Dylan stopped lurking in the background and started eating lunch with the team again. You could hear them laughing, real laughter, not the brittle kind from the weeks when everything felt like it might fall apart. The whole company, in small, quiet ways, started to believe in itself again. I realized, watching the sunlight flicker across the office floor one Friday evening, that recovery wasn't about a single dramatic comeback. It was 100 tiny, stubborn acts of rebuilding, one sticky note, one repaired integration, one muffin at a time. Every time someone wrote on that board or stayed late to help a colleague, they were stitching the culture back together. At the end of that week, as people crowded the break room, Maya handed me a marker. "Write something, Leo," she said. "You brought us back." I thought for a moment, then wrote in big block letters, "This is what winning actually looks like." Tyler snapped a photo, and someone taped it next to the board. For the first time since coming back, I felt like the company was truly alive again. And as I stood there, listening to laughter echo through the halls, I realized it wasn't just about fixing the platform, it was about restoring belief in the product, in each other, and for a while, in myself. That Friday, as the last of the sunlight slanted through the tall windows, nobody seemed in a rush to leave. People lingered by the whiteboard, reading old jokes, retelling near disasters from the winter, laughing at how the great CRM outage now sounded almost funny instead of terrifying. Someone plugged a speaker into a laptop and queued up a Spotify playlist called Optiven Survival Anthems, a collection of ridiculous team favorites from every all-nighter we'd ever pulled. At some point, Dylan rolled in a dented mini fridge from his car, a relic from their original co-working space, and ceremoniously declared it the new snack hub. The group cheered as if he'd just announced funding, and by the end of the hour, the fridge was stuffed with leftover pizza, La Croix, and half a dozen sticky notes warning about Maya's mysterious Tupperware. I caught myself stepping back, just watching the team. The way Maya and Tyler argued over who'd actually fix the latest webhook bug, the way Olivia, usually so quiet, cracked a joke about onboarding flow that sent half the team into fits of laughter. There was energy here again. Trust, too. For the first time since that long winter, the break room felt alive, not just with relief, but with ambition. There were heated debates about roadmap priorities, passionate arguments over UI details, even mock awards for the best patch note phrasing. The wounds weren't gone, but the company's pulse was back, strong and steady. As I packed up my bag, I glanced one last time at the crowded whiteboard. It wasn't just a tally of wins and losses, it was a living record of survival, resilience, and, slowly, hope. I felt the heaviness of the past months lifting, replaced by something lighter, a cautious optimism. Walking out into the warm Austin evening, I heard a chorus of goodbyes and "See you Monday" calls trailing behind me. The city buzzed with spring, restaurants spilling onto sidewalks, the hum of distant music, the sense of everything waking up again after a long freeze. And as I walked to my car, I realized something simple and true. We weren't just recovering. We were growing. We were ready finally to build again, not because we'd avoided disaster, but because we'd faced it together and refused to let it break us.